So God begins to speak to us as the children of Israel. He allows them to see. We don't realize we are scared of people who are scared of us. Fear is nothing but faith in the devil. I'll say that again. Sometimes we've gotten so fearful. Why? Because we have built faith in the devil, but the devil is a liar. We've got to know that we walk by faith and not by sight. It is not our desire to shrink back on what God has promised us. Many of you have gotten discouraged because of what you've seen, but I want you to prophesy today and tell the devil, I'm not shrinking back, but I'm going forward. Come on, you got to testify. You're looking at me today. Say, I'm not shrinking back, but I'm moving forward. Come on, I look like it. I'm not shrinking back, forward. That's right, Brother Wilson. I'm not shrinking back, but I'm moving forward. And so it's time for me to take back the ground of what the enemy has tried to steal from me. That's my land. That's my land. That's my territory. Tell the devil, you are scared of me. We are not to be intimidated. We are those who intimidate others. But the enemy has tricked us. He comes as a roaring lion. The lion don't have teeth. His breath stinks, and that's the only thing that he can do to try to keep you out of his face. Somebody's breath is sharp. Don't call him a lion. Say, are you the devil? No. There you go. I don't know where that came from. Point number 2. We win with obedience and unity. Do you hear what I said today? Brother Dominic, you preached a message today. You said obedience will create an atmosphere for your miracle. Man, you preached a powerful message. Your obedience will create an atmosphere for your miracle. So point number 2, we win with obedience and when we walk in unity. And one of the tricks of the enemy is to try to get us to talk against each other. One of the tricks of the enemy is to tell us that we can never do this because the task seems too big. But you've forgotten that we serve such a big God. You have forgotten that we serve an awesome God. You've forgotten that he is strong and mighty in battle, mighty to save, mighty to deliver, mighty to heal, mighty to set free. Come on, Team Challenge, you'll have a witness here today. That there is nothing too hard for my God. Come on, shout it with me today. There is nothing too hard for my God. Say it again. There is too hard. Say, I'm a giant slayer. Come on, say, I'm a giant slayer. Come on, shout, I'm a giant slayer. Yeah, I'm a giant slayer. God begins to speak to us. He begins to speak to us. He allows us to see where we are at when we walk in obedience. When we walk through our obedience, what the enemy will try to do as we are fighting, he will try to tell us that this is too big, or what is this leader doing? How? He didn't hear from God. She didn't hear from God. Look here, as we read in Joshua, the 6th chapter, the 1st verse. He says, now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. Isn't it interesting? Let me share it with you. Then the Lord said to Joshua, see how I have delivered Jericho into your hands. This is the trick of the enemy, is what he will do is he will always try to send people to say negative things. He will always send negative people. You know you got haters that are out there. I think the devil always got a group of haters. And some of the haters are saved. Now, just look straight ahead, because I don't want you to be saying, are you the hater? But what I want you to realize, that you got people always spreading negativity in our life. Those are the people you got to be careful of, because they will try to pull you down. Well, I've been drug-free for 6 weeks. Well, 2 years ago, you was free for 6 weeks, but on the 7th week, the devil got you and pulled you back. Say, hater. But you got to keep walking away from it. You got to keep walking away from them, because they will always speak negativity. When you say the glass is half full, they will say, but it's half empty. And so you got to realize in your life that you got to find people who will build unity with you. We're going to pay this church off in the year 2015. Well, we still owe $620,000. Where that's gonna come from? Not you. That's too big. We can't do it. You're right, we can't. But God can. God can. God can. So you have to have a mindset of people who will unify with you. Now, can you imagine if you were Joshua beginning to speak to this team of men and you called these men together and you said, the Lord said to me that what we are to do. Now, he called the priests. They had the Ark of the Covenant, but not only did he call these individuals, there were men of armor. They were strong men ready to battle. And when you call strong men ready to fight, what we want to do is we want to fight. Okay? We want to fight. And so here we are looking at this task that God has said through Joshua, we are going to overtake the land. Now let me tell you, I can only imagine if you were Joshua that how you may have felt, because if it was me, I would have said, man, you crazy. I can only imagine some people saying, Joshua, what are you thinking about? Okay, you're telling us and giving us instructions of what to do. You're telling us this. I'm here to tell you, you got to get that out of your mind. One can taste 1,000 to fight. Two can taste 10,000 to flight. And God is trying to share with us that he has given Joshua that we can overtake the land. But let me tell you, verbal obedience is useless without the action of obedience to accompany it. Say it again. Verbal obedience is useless without the action of actual obedience to accompany it. Because you will have some people who will talk a good game, but when it's time to make it happen, they will just talk it, but they won't live it. They won't walk through with you. And so what Joshua began to realize is I've got to have a united front. Because the victory is when we are in a united front. The victory happens when we begin to see and get into position of what God did. And these men, what they did is they lined up together. They began to believe God together. They began to speak it together. They began to just walk and do what God had called them to do. And I'm challenging each and every one of you today to do the same thing, because there will be a wall that is lined up in front of you. But how many know that we walk by faith and not by sight? Yeah, that's what you got to remember, that I've got to walk by faith and not by sight. That's the key thing. Sometimes our perspective gets blocked based on what we see. That's what you got to know, that sometimes your perspective will get blocked based on what you see. The wall is not your problem. That's what I got to preach today. The wall is not your problem. If God promised to you, when he said it, he's going to deliver it. So the wall is not your problem. The walls in your life represent the incidents and the accidents that took place in your life. The walls are our children who disobey us. That it seems like that you brought them to church and you told them that you are somebody. That ain't nothing but the trick of the enemy trying to tell you they will never amount to anything. Don't get down